would the differ be between a middle class burial and one of these wealthy burials? Do we see any
Well,
typical patterns in the lower classes, or are they also aiming to represent some sort of large ship burial, but in
yeah,
a
that's a really
much
good
scale
question,
back?
because so much of our conversation focuses on these actually exceptional burials in terms of wealth and range of symbols. And as I said, these were always probably the intended to be exceptions. And I think while there is a gradation of wealth, and there are poorer versions of the same thing, there are smaller vessels of, two, what would be equivalent to nowadays a rowing boat or a small coastal vessel, interred, 3-4 meter vessels, sort of more modest versions of the same symbolism. There are also more humble graves, cremations and inhumations, where a few grave goods, a few artifacts are being associated. And also, when in the rare cases where archaeology has the preservation quality to see it, there are just humble graves, simple cremations with perhaps one burnt artifact and an inhumation grave with nothing. And we can think, well, some of those might be slaves or might be just people who, in circumstances where the living wanted to keep hold of all the objects, as well as local
Yeah.
and regional variations in what was done with the artifacts. So I suspect there's a lot of messiness and variation. To give another example for our listeners, people will talk about the Viking world as a warrior society, and they point to the exceptional chamber graves of 10th century Birka as an example of
Yeah.
the warrior society. If you're one of those archaeologists uncritically accepts those weapon burials as representing a warrior society, you still have to contend with the fact there are very few warriors banging around. Because if you took the whole duration of that site of 200 plus years, and there's under 100, I think, weapon burials been excavated there.